Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, energetic leadership guide, psychic medium, and somatic coach for ambitious leaders who know their gifts are real and who want to stand fully in them. Here, you'll learn how to trust your intuition, embody your vision, and step into the freedom you've been craving, all without chasing more certifications or carrying stuff that does not belong to you. Every week, I'll share powerful practices and conversations with thought leaders and changemakers that help you transform your vision into embodied confidence, claim your gifts without apology, and lead with both clarity and freedom. Because your gifts aren't cute, they're powerful, they're real, and they're needed. Start today by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit. It's the exact tool I use to track what's fueling me and what's draining me. It will help you discern between that hit of achievement and true joy so that you can lead with more clarity and impact. This is your space to stop proving, start embodying, and live fully in your gifts. Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. Hello, and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about all the good things that are happening right now. So I'm recording this on Monday, February 16th. It is the eve of Lunar New Year. It is also the eve of the eclipse. And we have a massive, never before seen astrological configuration on Friday, February 20th, 26, where Neptune goes conjunct to Saturn, I think, if I'm getting that correctly, in the sign of Aries, which we don't have in recorded history. Like it's never been recorded in any astrological texts. So this is all brand new. And I just can't help but think this is the birth of a new era. This is the ignition point, especially considering that also on February 17th, we began the year of the fire horse. So happy New Year. So as we begin our new year, this is the first podcast episode of the year of the fire horse. Fire is one of the elements that if it is dampened by too much water or too much emotion, that it can, not do its fiery things. Wood fuels fire, which is why the setup from the year of the wood snake into the year of the fire horse is so what's the word? Catalytic? Is that a word? It's a catalyst. No, I'm making up my own words, but you get the point. It is a catalyst. And so as we begin this year, there's a couple things I want to bring in before we even talk about what we're going to talk about, which is this is very, very fast moving energy, like a wildfire, like a herd of stampeding horses, and combine those two energies together, the fire with the stampede. And we're going to need to measure ourselves, learn to ride the energy, and be careful not to get burned out, because that could be a real thing for us in this next year. We're going to have to temper ourselves, learn to ride the energy, take breaks and rests when the energy allows, and you'll feel that. My guess is you're either very energetically attuned right now, if you're drawn to this podcast, or you're really energetically curious because you know things aren't the way that they have normally been. And it's true. And so again, for this podcast episode, I'm going rogue. I have like a little bit of an outline developed, but the energy right now is rogue. And that is what I want to bring to you today, is this permissioning to leave the plan if you need to. Leave the plan. And I want to talk to you about kids. So when you're a parent, one of the things that we teach parents to do is to recognize when your baby hits certain milestones, like they smiled for the first time, or they rolled over for the first time, or they stood up unassisted for the first time, or they took their first steps. They drank from a sippy cup, all of those firsts. I heard many years ago that it's not just the firsts that we should be paying attention to. It's more in what they're not doing that we find evidence of their growth. And I remember somebody telling me this when my daughter was like 18 months old or so. And I was really in that very, very active parenting phase where everything is hands on because they're completely dependent on you for everything, for the diaper changes and the food and the entertainment and the safety and the caregiving and the sleeping, and everything relies on you as the parent. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, this is interesting. I should be paying attention to what she's not doing anymore. I'm the mother of one. She's 24 now. And it changed my perspective a little bit because up until that point, was really checking things off the list. Actually, I wasn't checking things off the list because even though I was partnered at the time, I was doing 98% of the parenting solo, working against my partner. And so that was really difficult. And so I didn't have time to like sit down and write in a neat baby book. But someone that I loved, I think it was my Aunt Anne, gave me this calendar where there were stickers. So I could peel a sticker from the back of the calendar book, and then I could place the sticker on the date where the milestone happened. And I was so appreciative of that because it actually allowed me to record those really pivotal moments in my daughter's life. So that was such a gift. And so I remember thinking, okay, I'm paying attention to the milestones that are happening, but I should also look at what's not happening. And I was so grateful for that little thing, that little nugget, because there were some really special things that my daughter did that have disappeared. And as she's 24 and she's been out on her own for the last 4 years, and she's, really got her own life, I'm still paying attention. Ooh, I didn't expect a wave of emotion. Oh, um, I'm still paying attention to the things that she doesn't do anymore. Oh, I didn't expect that wave. Hang on, just riding the wave. But here's why this matters to you. When we're growing, so many times we're focused on when is the next milestone going to hit? When am I going to finally do the thing that I want to do? When is it that I'm going to get the clients? I'm going to get the promotion. I'm going to feel the ease. I'm going to have the relationship that I want. I'm going to live in the place that I want. And we forget that while those things are very, very important, just like the milestones in infancy and toddlerhood, we're also leaving parts of ourselves behind. There are things that we no longer do that make room and space for us to call in those new things. And if we forget that, it can be really hard for us to move forward because there's not space or room for us to move forward. And so, as we're entering this brand new era, none of us have seen this before. None of us have lived through this. There's no ancient wisdom for us to rely upon for what's happening on Friday, February 20th. So even though we've created all of these new things, we've had the Lunar New Year on the 17th. We have the eclipse on the 17th and entered eclipse season. We're in eclipse season from now until March 3rd. We have Mercury retrograde that's coming in. We're already in the shadow. That comes in on the 26th, I believe. There's a lot of energy. So if you've been feeling like you can't quite find your sea legs, you can't quite catch your balance, you don't really know what to do, this is why. Because we're in massive energetic change. And when we're in those periods of change, it can feel really disconcerting. But I want to bring to you the idea of instead of thinking about only the things that you are doing or have accomplished, what is it you're letting go of? What is it you're no longer doing? What are you no longer available for? What are you no longer a match for? because those things, they're equally, if not more, important than the accomplishments. Okay, so let's talk about the things that maybe you're letting go of. And I would invite you to consider more than one way to language this so that we can hit different areas of your life. So, what are you letting go of is one way to language it. What are you letting go of? Is it control? Is it the need for certainty? Is it the need for a specific outcome or the specific how that something has to come into your life? So that's one way to think of it. Another way to think of it is what standards are you going to live by in this next phase of life? What are your standards? What are you no longer available for? And that's another way to ask the same question. What are you no longer available for? And when you answer these questions, what are you letting go of? What are your standards? What are you no longer available for? Then you can answer this question. What are you available for? Because if we don't get clear about what we're willing to let go of, what our standards are, and what we're no longer available for, it can be very confusing for us because we spend the time that we have, and it's precious, precious time, spending time, energy, bandwidth, money, hopes, and dreams on things that may not be aligned for us. They may not be in our best interest. They may not even be reciprocal. And so, as you're thinking about how you're going to approach this new phase, what are you letting go of? What are you available for? What are your standards? And I'm just going to tell you one of the things you're going to have to let go of is the need for certainty. I know that we have such a need for certainty. I feel it too. But certainty is just not a thing. I mean, there are certain things that we try to create certainty around, like the routines that we have, the traditions that we have. That is our human attempt at certainty. And so there's so much love for that when we create these routines. It makes us feel a little bit more stable. And a routine could be something that you do every single day or every single week. So maybe, like for me, for example, every single day, I have a specific routine where upon waking, as soon as my eyes open, I do a meditation. So my eyes close again. But before I even step out of bed, before I even hit the floor, I'm in a meditation setting an intention for my day. That is a really stabilizing routine for me. And then after that, I get up, I go get showered, we go downstairs, I get Bentley his breakfast, I make the coffee, and then while the coffee's brewing, Bentley and I go for our walk. So every day when I come home, and I did this the whole time I was traveling full time, I do it every day now. I did it every day before. This is how we do it. And that feels very, very stabilizing. It's a way to create certainty when so much of life is not certain. Because the truth is, high capacity leaders like you love certainty, right? And not only do you love certainty, but you love perfection. And even if you don't identify as being a perfectionist, my guess is that there's a little wisp of perfectionism that keeps you from fully embracing the you that you want to be. That wisp of perfectionism keeps you from trying things because you know that when you try something brand new, you're not going to be good at it. And there's a part of you that feels like you have to be good at everything. Ask me how I know. I mean, this is literally something I've had to work through. And my daughter had to work through too. In fact, I remember vividly when she was a baby, she was learning to walk. And she has always been and continues to be brilliant and very stubborn. And she'd be the first to tell you that. So when she was a baby, we were living in Kansas City at the time, and we were in this house, and there was a wallpaper border that was around the mid wall height. So chair rail type of height. And it was this wallpaper border that had bears. It was like yellow and blue and had these cute little bears. I didn't put them up. That was there when we bought the house, and I didn't change it because I was pregnant when we moved in. And so as she was growing, she would stay up at night and she'd pick at that wallpaper. Eventually, we had to take it down because there was like little tears and there was no wallpaper left around her crib. But anyway, we could hear her doing something at night and she was very active in the crib. And more than once, I would go in there and if she saw me, she'd sit right back down. But if she didn't see me, I could see her using the rails of the crib to stand up and practice walking. In the meantime, in the day, she would not walk. She did this like army crawl kind of scoot thing. And we went in for a well check. I believe it was the 18-month well check. And I could have that wrong, but I believe it was 18 months. And the pediatrician said, we really need to see some signs of walking. And if we don't see walking, we're going to need to do some evaluation for something neurological to see if there's something more going on here. And of course, that just struck fear in my heart. I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? What's going to happen with that? And I've always been someone who talked to my daughter just like I talked to my dog, just like I talked to you. I explain things. And so I said to my daughter, who was 18 months at the time, if you already know how to walk, I'm going to need you to try to walk because the doctor is concerned that there might be something wrong because you're not walking. But I think you can walk. So that night, her dad and I were sitting at opposite ends of the hall and our feet were touching. So, I mean, we weren't all the way through the hall, but our feet were touching and we were trying to walk back and forth with her to give her practice because both of us were very concerned that she needed to take these steps and she needed to learn to walk because the pediatrician was concerned, so on and so forth. So we were passing her back and forth, stabilizing her under her arms as she walked back and forth between us in this hall. And she did that about 3 times, like down to me once, back up to her dad once, down to me once. And then the next time, and the next time she walked from me towards her dad, he extended his hand. She pushed it down and turned, stepped over his leg, and walked into her room by herself. And this whole time, she had not been showing that she was fully capable and learning to walk on her own. But her perfectionism, her need to show us that she had it down perfectly before she showed us, prevented her from doing that in the day. And when she did that, I saw myself in that because I have it in me to also withhold things that I don't feel I've practiced in. And so that's been an area that I've worked in since my daughter was 18 months old. She's 24. So I've had a lot of years of practice of this, which is to say that I have worked through a lot of this perfectionism that was keeping me stuck. And just this week, I was reminded of how impactful it is when you can give yourself permission to let go of the need to get it right and let go of the need to do it perfect and just do the thing. Because the truth is, there's only one way to get better at the thing, and that is to do it. So I've talked about on the podcast before how much I love ballroom dancing, specifically salsa and bachata are my two very favorites. I also love, love, love the cha-cha. I danced competitively for the cha-cha a few different times. And I have stopped taking private lessons for now, but I have found a social dance club that I love, and it's only like 10 minutes from my house. And so this Friday, I went to a Valentine's Day event. It was the red, yellow, green event. Red is a color that you could wear if you were taken. And green is a color that you could wear if it was a maybe, or in my interpretation, it's complicated. And then green is what you could wear if you were single. It wasn't required that you wear these things, but it was offered. And I have so much green. I'm wearing green right now. I love this shade of green. And I have a dress that I love. And I had that in the back of my mind as what I was going to wear. I am telling you, it took a lot of guts to put on a green dress and go dancing. It took so much courage to admit, A, I'm single and I'm available. And then when I got there, I had another opportunity to do that again because they had these glow in the dark necklaces that were red, yellow, and green. So when they turned down the lights for the dance party after the lesson section ended, you could still identify who was wearing what color. And I decided since I was going big, I was just going to wear one of those. And so there's a picture on my social platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok of me in that green dress with the glow in the dark necklace around. And that's where that came from. And as I was reflecting that night, I was so proud of myself because when I decided to sign up for dance lessons, none of my local close friends like to dance. I have one friend from Boise who loves to dance, and I think she probably would have gone to lessons with me if she was around. Shout out to Maria. But she wasn't here in Portland. And so when I started dance lessons, I had to go by myself. And let me tell you, even though I had danced as a kid and I had danced recreationally for many years in Boise through different organizations, this was different. I was not automatically good. I was awkward. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a little bit insecure and I just had to do it anyway. And over time, I've gotten better and better and better. And I love it. And I'm confident enough now that I can ask other people to dance that are very good dancers. And they also ask me to dance. And it makes the event so much more fun. But if I would have held on to certainty and the need to get it right perfectly, I wouldn't have been able to allow myself to dance. And this is what I see so many of you doing. You won't allow yourself to get out there and dance. You won't allow yourself to get out there and do it messy and not be good. You think that you have to do it perfectly before you show up. You're not going to get to do it perfectly, probably ever. And you're not going to be good the first time you do it. You're not. You're not. You're not going to be good the second time you do it or the 100th time you do it, but maybe by the 200th time you do it, you're going to start to see an improvement. But you cannot get to that improvement cycle until you start iterating, until you start doing it. So if you're waiting for the certainty of being really good at doing the thing, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. You will be wishing to be on the dance floor of your life, waiting to have the steps down. But if you don't practice the steps aren't going to be good. The only way through is through. And so, yeah, I often say things like be gentle with yourself. But what I'm seeing right now is the difference between people who use be gentle with themselves. When I say be gentle with yourself, it's self talk, as in, oh, I'm just going to offer you some compassion right now. I can tell that you're a little nervous, a little scared. I see you. You're doing really well. You're trying hard. Versus be gentle with yourself being interpreted as, oh, this is hard, so I'm not going to make myself do it today. That is not being gentle with yourself. That's actually self-sabotage. That's your nervous system telling you, nope, just stay stuck. And you're going to have to take some kind of action. You're going to have to. I wouldn't be telling you anything that would be for your highest and best if I didn't say this. And I know this can be very confronting. Yeah, you might be going through stuff. Yeah, you might be scared. Yeah, you might worry about what people will think. All of those things are true. But guess what? They're true for me too. They're true on the dance floor. They're true when I'm recording this for you. They're true when I post on social media. Those things are always in my awareness. But every time I decide to choose me, I decide to choose believing in me. I decide to choose believing in my capacity to grow and develop and iterate and practice so that I can get it good in the way that I want it to be good. And I want you to do the same thing. Being gentle with yourself, all the times that I've said be gentle with yourself, that was not an invitation for you not to do the thing and just go sit on the couch. And I worry in some communications I've had recently that some people have interpreted be gentle with yourself as letting yourself off the hook. Those are two different things. You can be gentle with yourself and take the action. Maybe the action is tending to your nervous system. Maybe the action is getting therapy. Maybe the action is signing up for coaching so that you know exactly what to do and you have support to do it. Maybe the action is signing up to come to the intuitive leader retreat, to have some concentrated time mirroring back the version of you that you know that you're becoming. Because here's the thing, if you're not willing to let go of different things, if you're not willing to not be available for the things that have kept you stuck at this level, you're going to stay at this level. What is it that you're no longer available for that you're going to let go that's going to allow you to get to the next level? If my daughter wouldn't have let go of the army crawl in her crib at night and learned to walk, she wouldn't be walking. If I hadn't let go of the need to be perfect so that I could try dance lessons, I wouldn't be dancing. If I hadn't let go of my need to be perfect and get it right and be the professional, I wouldn't be here podcasting with you. You wouldn't be listening to what I'm saying right now. And if you follow me on social media, I can tell you for damn sure I would not be posting what I'm posting on social media if I hadn't decided to let go of worrying about what other people are going to think. Does it cross my mind? Yes, of course. I'm a CPTSD survivor. Of course it crosses my mind. Of course it does. But I make a decision each time. Am I going to let the opinion of somebody on social media dictate what I'm willing to share about me and dictate what I do in my business? The answer is no. I'm going to choose me. And I want for you to choose you. That's why I held that challenge, the Yes to Me challenge. I held it for 4 years, multiple times each year. This is the first year I haven't done it. I'm considering it though. If you liked it and you want me to hold that challenge again, reach out. Tell me. Because it's been in my mind that maybe I should do something like that. So I'd love to hear from you if that's you. Okay. I have completely gotten off my bullet tracks or my bullet points. Let's see. Okay. So, one of the things that I talked about on the last podcast episode was your operating system versus your programming. So the operating system is like your nervous system default. That's just the day-to-day stuff. It's your subconscious. It's things that you have just kind of running in the background. The stories you tell yourself, whether or not your nervous system is triggered by different things. And then the programming is the new sets of beliefs or the existing sets of beliefs. When your programming and your operating system and your actions match, you'll get forward momentum. If any one of those three things is not aligned, like the operating system, the programming, and your action, it's like a three-legged stool. It's not going to balance. It's not going to sit. We have to have all three things: the operating system, the programming, and the action. Now, again, remember the action could be that you say, I am going to regulate my nervous system so that I finally feel safe. The action could be, I'm going to prioritize myself and I'm going to go to the intuitive leader retreat. The action could be, I'm going to sign up for coaching. The action could be deciding you're no longer available for non-reciprocal relationships. The action could be deciding that you're no longer available for working multiple extra hours after your workday. The action could be deciding you're no longer, I tripped over my words. You're no longer available for making food choices that are not for your highest and best. So I really want you to think about, what is it that you are no longer available for? And when you're thinking about that, the thing that I want you to really keep in mind is you are creating space for the thing that you are available for. Because if you don't clear the way for the things that you're not available for, there is no room for the things that you are available for. That's why nutritionists talk about the crowding out theory. So if you work with a reputable nutritionist, they are not going to tell you, cut out all of this whole food group or all of these types of foods. They're going to say, let's crowd out some of those choices by adding in the things that we want. So, for example, let's say you need to eat more vegetables to balance your blood sugar. Instead of saying you can't have certain foods, they're going to say, we're going to make sure that half of your plate is filled with leafy or green vegetables. You're crowding out when you're deciding what you're no longer available for. So today, here's an example. I got an email from somebody who I was part of a summit about a year ago, and the email was a request for me to refer a lot of people that I knew to this summit. But the way it was worded made me realize there's no reciprocity here. This is me continuing to give. I'm no longer available for things like that. It's just that simple. I'm not emotional about it. I'm just no longer available. So, what is it you can be no longer available for? And if you get the hives thinking about this, then what it's suggesting is that there's some identity work or some nervous system work that might be necessary. Because here's the thing, your identity has to support the actions that you are taking and or not taking. If I were to think about myself as I am someone who fills in the blank, I'm going to get a specific set of behaviors. I'm someone who wears quality clothing that lasts a long time, that reflects my values, trying to protect the environment. It reflects my value in buying quality merchandise. I'm someone who feeds my dog really nutritious whole foods. It's speaking to my identity. So, in both of those cases, my identity, let's say with the clothing, is not going to allow me to buy clothing from one of the, let's say, Shein, because I value the environment and I value high quality clothing. My identity won't support me buying $2 dresses off of Shein. It's an identity thing. I'm not available for the fast fashion because I know my identity, right? The same thing is true with my dog. I value him, I value his health and safety, and I pride myself on being someone who cares well for my dog. So we're not going to eat the bargain dog food because it doesn't match my identity. But there are other areas in my life where I'm working on my identity. Like I've talked about the wheel of life. So the wheel of life categories: spirituality, money and finance. That's one of the ones I forgot last time. Career and growth, health and fitness, fun and recreation, family and friends, personal development, partners, and love. So when we think about that wheel of life, for most of us, we probably are really focused on one to two. And those one to two things are taking up 90% of your bandwidth. When we can broaden the focus and round out that wheel of life, you're going to find, like most people do, that you feel better. You feel better about doing things across the board. So, one area of focus that I have had over the past year is really focusing on, did I have a block to partnership and love? Because I haven't had partnership for a while and I am looking for that. And so, as I am thinking about what am I no longer available for, I need to look at the behaviors that I'm showing that are potentially blocking partnership and love. If the only time I'm leaving the house is to go to a big girlfriend's event that's in someone else's house, what are the chances I'm going to meet a partner there? Could it happen? Yes. Sure, it could. Is it as likely? No, it's not, because I work from home. And so if I'm not leaving the house to go to other places and other events that might have people that enjoy doing the same things that I do, what are the chances I'm going to put myself in the path of somebody that I want to meet? They're nil. It's not going to happen. So when I'm thinking about what am I no longer available for, I'm no longer available for saying that I want partnership while doing nothing towards moving into partnership. I'm no longer available for that. which is one of the reasons I went to that red, yellow, green dance the other night. I was so excited. I was so proud of myself because that was matching that new identity of I'm someone who prioritizes partnership. So, what is the identity you want to step into? What are the behaviors that you are no longer available for? And what is it that you really want to call in? And so, my questions for you as you move through the next few days, what are you avoiding under the guise of waiting for quote unquote clarity or waiting for certainty? What are you waiting for? Because I guarantee you there's something. There's something for all of us. For me, I was waiting for the complete knowing that I could trust that I wouldn't be hurt by a romantic partnership. As somebody with CPTSD from multiple abusive partners, that's a big, big ask for me. But you remember that church choir thing I was telling you about? Well, one of the things that came from that is that I learned I can trust myself to recognize a misfitting relationship and respond appropriately and quickly. And it was so interesting because a light bulb went on as I was driving away for the very last time. And the light bulb was like this opening in my heart. And I felt like, whoa, I just proved to myself I can trust myself not only to recognize when something is misaligned, but to take action. And I think that's part of the reason I was able to wear the green dress. Now, did I meet my partner? I don't know. Did I have a good time? Yes, I did. I had a wonderful time. I danced with many, 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 many people. It was wonderful. I had an amazing time. I'm going again. I go often. And maybe my partner will come from a dance event. But even if he doesn't, I'm having a great time. So, what are you avoiding for? The next question that was a terrible question. You know what I meant. What are you avoiding under the guise of waiting for certainty or clarity? The next question I have for you is what is it that you are pretending you don't already know? That's a big one because there's something that you are pretending not to know. And when you stop pretending, you're going to have an idea of what your next step could be. And the last question is where are you hesitating because it feels scary? And I just want to acknowledge your next step. It may not be huge. Like maybe you're not going to start a YouTube channel or a podcast or start sharing your life on social media. That's not what I expect or even necessarily want for you. But what is it that you're not showing up fully for in your life? And how can you break that down into baby steps? So, a baby step for any of those examples that I gave, or let's give some more. How about starting a business or starting a side hustle or changing your own identity from something of a professional nature to something that is a little bit more esoteric? For example, moving from a teacher into a somatic coach. That's my story. Or moving from a doctor into a coach or a healer. Where's the identity? And how can you bring those two things together? And maybe it means nervous system work. Maybe it means more breath work. Maybe it means therapy. Maybe it means a coach. Maybe it means you attend a retreat. Speaking of retreats, the Intuitive Leader Retreat is enrolling for just a few more days. We're live together in Lincoln City, Oregon, March 3rd through 5th. The registration link is brendawinkle.com/retreat 2026, retreat 2026. So that's brendawinkle.com/retreat 2026. And if I could just be so bold as to say, I know this retreat works. I know it works. I've witnessed it multiple times. It's a big part of what I did in my own life. It's part of my own healing journey. And now I offer it to others. And I have held 6 retreats. I know this literally changes lives. I've watched it over and over and over again, 6 different times. So come join us. It's game changing. And it's not game changing in the sense you're not going to go from, like, let's say, not even having a business to having a business. It's not that. But what is possible is your self concept can change. The way you talk to yourself can change. The way you look at yourself can change. The identity can begin to shift. That's game changing. Thank you so much for listening to your Yes Filled Life. In the spirit of reciprocity, I just want to tell you this is not free for me to produce. It is cost free to you. It costs me time. It costs me hosting fees. It costs me bandwidth. It costs me emotional energy. And I love offering it to you. And I ask in return, can you please give this podcast your rating, review, and share it with people? It means so, so much. And when you engage in reciprocal energies, even so much as sharing this podcast with somebody, you're going to feel that energetic loop close. There's something that happens when we're doing things that are not reciprocal, both on the receiving end and on the giving end. And when we can close those loops, it enables us to give and receive so much more freely, so much more quickly, and with so much more love. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. Until next time.